Just because you're in pain doesn't mean you're a victim. I'm a huge proponent of not remaining in victimhood. Even if things you feel are perpetrated upon you, you had a hand in them. You helped manifest them into being. And that was an important part of my transition from really victimhood to ownership of my entire life. Welcome to Body of Truth. I'm Rebecca Windsor. Body of Truth was born really out of complete compulsion and necessity. After years of living what I thought was this idealized myth of a marriage, came crashing down to reality in a single phone call in which it ended. And then shortly after, my son left for college, and I was left to grapple with what I was left with, which was fractured identities built on years of myths. So, in that process of absolute grief and mourning that needed to occur, and in the subsequent rebuilding, I learned a tremendous deal about myself and that kind of process. But the most important thing I learned is to alchemize these changes throughout in every facet of our lives, that we must first manifest them in our bodies. That willpower alone will never make those changes occur for us. And I would offer that if you have failed in the past, it is not your fault. It's only that you had a faulty operating system. If you do not change the physical existence of your body, including your brain, you will never be able to change the outside of your life. And that's what I hope to offer you here, as a place to start those conversations with yourself that can start to enact those very changes. So in the year following my divorce that I laid on the floor in grief and pain, some of it was necessary. I definitely was the queen of putting this soldier's face on when my son would come home and see me. I definitely was able to go to work and soldier through to, probably not my most robust extent, but I was able to function in the world in a very limited way. And then come home and collapse again. I mean, literally in my work clothes, kick off my shoes and lay down on my wooden floor and weep and not weep and inwardly rage, outwardly rage. I will share that one of my, so my ex was a professional sailboat racer. I've shared that before. And so we didn't have lighthouses or that many, nautical things in our home, but we did have in our front uh, bay window a big wooden replica of a sailing ship. And one afternoon, I came home and drove up to that house that was falling down around my ears, that it was my responsibility to sell and unload. And that we had taken a lot of the value out to buy a boat to sail around the world. That's another story. I drove up and my eyes saw that sailboat, and it represented so much of my own passivity in our relationship, of my, okay, all right, I'll support you. You never, ever, ever saying, wait, I need this. And that is not my ex's fault. That was my own manifestation of the victim, of just keep quiet, be supportive. He'll appreciate those sacrifices. That was completely of my own making. But I just want to share quickly, as an aside, the satisfaction grabbing that model that was lovely by the mast and smashing it to pieces on my bluestone walkway, smashing it to smithereens, and then taking those bigger pieces and smashing those smaller and smaller. I know there are now places where you can go and smash plates or break things with a sledgehammer, and I think that that is so healthy. I need to go there. And I would say that we probably would all, whoever you go with, will wind up in tears because it's such a release. Totally support those things. Anyway, I do feel like it's really important for you to embody your pain. And it's really hard to not want to run away from the pain. And I guess what I want to offer you today, and what really was handed me as a piece of gold yesterday in a conversation with a close friend, is pain is growth. Continued suffering is not, but pain is something that we cannot escape as humans. It is a sign of change. It can be a sign of grief, and you need to honor that. And though I will take anyone to task about being a victim, no one is a complete innocent victim that had divorce thrust upon them. You either gave yourself the gift of ignorance, you decided not to see what was there, you ignored your intuition, but I'm not here to take you to task for that. That's a different video, and that's something that I do want to talk about. But that is a state of victimhood. And I lived there for a long time. How could he do this to me? Look at all these things I did for him. I mean, I was a martyr and a victim for a long time. But I also see that my determined naivete was part of that victimhood. But the pain is non-negotiable. The pain is there. The pain is real. And what I want to offer you is it's okay to feel the pain and the grief and the mourning without being a victim. Those are human emotions that we need to honor. And if you can stay in them and not run from them, even in conversation, as I am in tears with my sister holding space for me, I mean, really lovingly holding space for me, I try to make a joke and run. I try to take a breath and release the pain and kind of put it away somewhere neatly. And she said, no, come back to it. Come back to it. So that's what I want to hold space for you for today. If you are in pain, I am offering you the space to sit with it, to cry through it, to thrash through it, to rage through it, and to roll around and let it take you down. Let it roll through your body. Let yourself feel helpless. Let yourself feel like you can't fucking breathe, and that every part of you is blasting into a million pieces, because it is. Your old self is dying. And it is a death. Ultimately, I would offer it's a healthy death, but not at the time. At the time, you're dying. And I do not take away from those minutes and hours and days and months and even years of grief and passion. And it will come and go. And as you go dive more deeply into yourself, it will ease, and then it will come back even harder, because now you're really looking at the root of the pain. Last night, I got through to a really clear root and lie of my pain. I struggle every day to make these videos because I always struggle with, are you sharing from a place of artifice or are you sharing from a place of contribution? My secret shame of being hollow at the core and just wanting people to look at me, keeps me fucking paralyzed at times. But I have decided to release myself of that shame. That I know that when I lean into my mission of contribution, what comes out is pure. And you know what? My fucking ego keeps me showing up here every day. So I'm going to lean into that, and I refuse to make that part of my own shame. So this is what I wanted to offer you today. If you are in the throes of pain, I honor it. Try to stay in it. Give yourself that place to just be in agony. Because the more you allow yourself to embody it and let it work its way through, the more you will wholly heal. And that's what I offer you today. I offer you that space to hold you in a container of compassion so you can thrash around. I hope this was helpful. And if you need help for that space, reach out to me. I have it. I can hold it. I'll see you tomorrow.